Hey everybody, so I'm here again with another entry into the beer journal. I had a request, so I decided I wanted to jump on that right away. I wanted to get at least two of these done this week, so I figured why not go for it on both counts. So the beer I'm looking at right now is Lake of the Woods Brewing Company, the Lakeside Kolsh, or Kolsh, probably is the more proper pronunciation. So if you, I'm gonna, so you can see the label turn off this light for a second. Lakeside Kolsh. Does that need a thumbnail? Yeah. Get that light back up because mid lighting is important. Actually, that's too much light, isn't it? I'll get this right one of these days, guys. I'll get this right one of these days. Okay, so the Lakeside Kolsh. So Lake of the Woods. Pretty sure, yeah, Kenora, Ontario. Lake of the Woods is a good brewery. I really like good brewery. There we go. I really like their stuff. So I'm glad that I got the suggestion for this one. I had to do a little research into Kolshes because I know the concept of a Kolsh. If I grab a Kolsh and crack it, I have an idea of what I'm going to be drinking, but just the creation process and the history on them, because I always like to have a little bit of that for you guys because it's interesting. So the Kolsh is actually one of the more interesting beers. The reason being, so everyone's heard of the terms ale and lager, and a lot of people might not know what those terms are or what they mean. By the way, if you guys are, most of you probably are on Bookface, if you find the audio to be great or terrible or whatever, just let me know. I'm just going to pull up so I can see this basically is kind of the big place to do this one. Should come up here. Oh, I don't actually want to hear myself. I just want to see if you guys are talking. You're the more interesting ones. No, I don't know comments, reactions. It didn't, it done. Oh my god. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, where was I? That was a terrible distraction, wasn't it? Yeah, it's actually got one of the more interesting histories. Okay, ales and lagers. So everyone's probably heard of those terms, ales and lagers, and but they may not know exactly what they mean. So ales and lagers they're strains of yeast, or they're kind of strains of yeast. So ales are generally regarded as going to be a type of beer made from a style of yeast that's what's called warm fermented, which means that the yeast sits on the top. It's usually fermented within warmer temperature ranges, and that's going to allow for usually stronger flavors. Compare that to a lager. So a lager is what's called bottom fermented, usually fermented at lower temperatures, as low as 10 degrees Celsius. So you need different yeasts for these different things, and that yeast is going to settle down to the bottom, and it's going to ferment from the bottom. And then usually with a lager, you get, where the lager gets its name from is the term lagering, where you're going to take it after it's done fermenting, and you're going to lager it, which basically means store it in the cold for an extended period of time. Now, at like near freezing temperatures we're talking here. Now, what that actually does, and why, lager is a four-letter word in a lot of circles, is because what that does is that drains a lot of the character from the beer. That's why when you hear people talking about lagers, you hear terms like crisp and clear and easy drinking. So a lager beer is going to be a type of beer where that yeast sinks to the bottom and then you lager it after, so you get a very crisp, clean beer, because a lot of the character it fades out during the lagering process and during fermentation. Now, why is this important? I'm talking a lot about yeast in beers. Well, I mean, that's kind of what this whole thing's about. But anyways, see, the thing you have to understand about yeast is that there are so many strains of yeast. Like, we're talking thousands of strains of yeast. That to take yeast and separate it into lager yeast and ale yeast, while useful, is also like kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, well, there's Star Wars fans and then there's Star Trek fans. Within those fandoms, there's going to be a separation where you're going to have, well, there's Star Wars fans who love Star Wars but hate Star Trek, and then there's Star Wars fans who love both Star Wars and Star Trek, and there's Star Wars fans who, you know, love Star Wars but like Star Trek, and then you get that whole spectrum, right? So when we're talking about yeasts, this is true of yeasts. There are not just lager yeasts and ale yeasts, although those are two very useful categories. There are yeasts that can operate in both temperatures. There are wild yeasts that don't fit into either of those. And not all of them are used in beers, and most of them you end up with something called sour beers, which I will cover another day because that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Now, what does this mean for this beer right here? Well, Kolsh is kind of one of those middling beers. It's made with a yeast that is both a lager and or rather both a lagering yeast and an ale yeast, so it can sort of do both. And it's brewed primarily as an ale, but then it goes through the lagering process. So what ends up happening is you get a beer that gets that sort of crisp, clear, drinkable flavor to it, or lack thereof. They ended up with the lagers. But you still get something with a little character. Usually a muted fruitiness is what you're going to find. But something with just a little bit of character, not too much hops. Because if you use a lot of hops, a lot of that's going to get drained out in the lagering process. So that's what a Kolsh is. So it's one of the more complex to describe kind of beers, but drinking it, it's just as easy as any other beer. So now Kolsh, being something that goes through lagering, we're going to see, at least I'm hoping, it's going to be very clear. So you're going to look at this and you're going to say, well, that could be a Bud, that could be a, any number of beers, because it goes through the lagering process, so it ends up being very clear. Our head, if any, doesn't stay around that long. It's going to dissipate real quick, and we get a real clear golden look to it, right? So that classic beer look. Now, okay, here's interesting. So we'll see if these survive, or if you can see them. If you can see them, that's great. If not, then that's fine. But there's little spots in here, so I made a mistake here. Okay, so you see those little spots? It's not a big one, but you see those little spots where there's bubbles still coming up? Those shouldn't be there. What I should have done is I should have rinsed out the glass first. Now, I used to think, and some people may think, that when you're having a beer, if you've got the beer, you want a clean, dry glass. I don't want any water watering down my tasty beer. Well, okay, first of all, the amount of water, if you just rinse it and dump it out, it's going to be very minimal. Second of all, that's going to create almost a barrier between the beer and the glass, so all of the sort of imperfections in the glass are not going to create this constant bubbling. So again, this was a bit my mistake, but it's not a huge one. I don't plan on leaving this in the glass that long. But without further ado, let's go ahead. I've actually never had one of these before. The Lakeside Kolsh, light, refreshing taste. Let's see, what do they say about it? So Lakeside Kolsh takes its name from one of Kenora's first neighborhoods on famous Lake of the Woods. Spattered with small beaches, boathouses, and docks, Lakeside is typical of most marine hamlets built so many years ago. Kenora's waterways have floated everything from raw lumber and birch canoes to wood launches, steamboats, and outboard pillars. Lakeside is brewed using old-world techniques, which produces a crisp, clean ale characteristic of a lager. It is a delicate and subtle beer with hints of malt and fruit in its nose. So that sounds like it's going to be fairly Kolshy, you know. So that's fitting. The description is fitting into the style. I just got a message. Yay! People like me and they know I exist. This is great. That went live. I'm gonna read that. And being that it's Lake of the Woods, this is a little impromptu. I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm gonna dedicate this beer tasting. He wasn't my Uncle Bill. I believe he was my dad's Uncle Bill, but he passed away a number of years ago. And getting together for Ukrainian Christmas, he'd get his fiddle out. It was a great time, and he was a wonderful man to know. So just passing him, I'm going to dedicate this to him. But without further ado, I've been going for what, 20 minutes? 30 minutes? 3 hours? And I haven't... Okay, let's go. So yeah, that's a patio beer. I mean, to me, to my palate, I'm gonna almost throw a little bit of... it's almost a caramelly malt, is what I'm getting onto my palate here. It's definitely got that clean, crisp flavor. This is not a 9 in the evening beer, which is what time it is for me at the moment. 9:24. It's not a 9:30 at the night beer, but I'm treating it as such. So yeah, this would be something I'd very much desire on the patio, on the poolside, you know, around the lake. It's hey Rick. That's what this style of beer is going to be good for, and this is a really good example of it. A sweet maltiness is what I'm getting. Again, sort of almost a caramel to it, at least from, you know, that style of malts. That's what I'm tasting. Yeah, I mean it's tough to get too much into it, because, you know, I'm getting the malts, I'm getting the crispness. It's certainly not over carbonated. You know, again, there's not a ton to say about it. I mean, when you get to those lagered beers, you're not gonna get a ton. Yeah, it's not gonna be a. Oh, I just got a follower on Twitter. Not Twitter, Twitch. So thank you, Goldboy5275. I can't see the chat from there. Let me pull it up. I just want to make sure, because I'm doing this mob crush where I'm streaming to the entire world right now. So, you know, who knows what else is going on in the world. I still have to figure out how to merge all of these. And I want to go to my Twitch. I'm the most important person. Come on, let's go. Yeah, okay. I just remembered I can't see chat. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's about it. Again, not going to be much to talk about conversation-wise within the flavor. Let's go in again and see if I can pull anything else out of my arse. Hello, Goldboy5275. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you for the follow. I do this across multiple platforms. I still haven't figured that out exactly. So I'm on Facebook, Athos252, YouTube, Athos252, Mixer, Athos252, and you can come here on Twitch, Athos252. So anyways, we're gonna go back in here. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Anything where you're going to have a lagered beer or a beer that goes through a lagering process, that's, at least for me, I'll say, you get that back of the mouth, that almost beer reaction to it. It's incredibly dulled in this one, so it actually doesn't take that much away from it. Although, if it could be completely gone, that'd be great. But, you know what? For the style that it is, for what it's doing, I'll blindly support Coco Deal. Watch. I'm gonna Google that later. It's not gonna be something I'll want to have said that I support, but you know, here we are. Oh no, Bixby, go away. No wait, Google, go away. Okay, fine. All right, so yeah, it's gonna do the trick as far as a Kolsh goes. Again, it's going to be one of those patio beers. I'm probably going to call this a video here because I'm just repeating myself. Again, not a ton to talk about, and that was repeating myself as well. I do want to talk about one thing, though. I do have my Extra Life stream is coming up. I'll be doing a 24-hour live stream of not drinking beer, although I might drink beer, but for the most part, I'm going to be gaming. Midnight to midnight, November 2nd. I'll be going all day, live, here on Twitch, here on Mixer, here on Facebook, here on YouTube. I gotta cut at least one of those out, because that is getting hard to say. The other thing I want to announce is that I can now accept donations for my Extra Life, not just through my Extra Life page, but also through my Facebook page, which is nice because the Facebook page, the Facebook fundraiser, is connected directly to Extra Life. So any donations done to Extra Life. Oh, I do believe in God. Yeah, okay. Well, Dio's probably God, I'm guessing. And Porco is pig guy. No, I'm not pig. I do believe in God. We're getting off track here. But yeah, so if you go to the Facebook page, it's in Canadian dollars, which is great. My goal looks a little less fun because my goal is 1024. On there it's like 1372, I want to say, because that's it translated to Canadian dollars. But you can donate in Canadian dollars on there. So that's great. Other than that, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got for you guys right now, so you can check that out. I will be announcing soon. I'm going to be doing a Team 252 get together for the Extra Life stream, and I'm hoping that I'm just going to double check on Mixer real quick. I am drawing this out. I had to do a little Kolsh research. That's why this is white. Not that I need to explain why. I mean, it would be any images. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, hey. Oh, wow, yeah, I am getting some. Hey, guys, on Mixer there. Sorry, I'm broadcasting in multiple things. I am drinking, it's a Lake of the Woods Lakeside Kolsh. So it's from Lake of the Woods Brewing Company, if you guys missed the beginning. Thanks. The shirt's absolutely great. I absolutely love room. Yeah, I've got to work on the setup here. But yeah, it's Lakeside Kolsh. This whole video is going to be on YouTube and of course on here if you want to go back. It's a little bit of a self-contained, just sort of breakdown of both the Kolsh style and this particular Kolsh. I'm doing a series of videos on this. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I very much appreciate the views and all that. Other than that, I think I'm gonna try and call it. I'm not gonna check on YouTube. Nobody watches this stuff on YouTube. I'm not even gonna check to see if anybody's chatting on YouTube. Oh, you know what? I'm a big dumb dummy. Because I have this button I can hit on Mob Crush that displays unified chat. I could have seen all of this. We'll get there one of these days. Don't worry. We'll get there. I'm off topic though. One last taste before I let you guys go. I am digging real hard here to find something more interesting in this. But it's tasty. If you're sitting on a patio, you know what? Grab a Lakeside. Do it. It's going to be good. I can recommend this beer. I'm not going to, you know what? I'm not going to do stars. I'm going to do recommend or don't recommend because it always depends on the situation. So I'm going to start doing that as I'm either going to recommend or not recommend beers after trying them. And I'm not going to do stars. I'm not going to do a rating system. I might talk about them in relation to other beers, especially within style, but I'm not going to do any sort of star rating or numbered rating because realistically, barring my favorite dark beers, if I'm sitting on a patio, that's not what I want. If I'm sitting on a patio and it's 30 degrees out, but I don't want to go inside, I'm hanging out with people, and I need a beer, every stout is a 0. Every stout is a 0, except for Le Temps Noir and maybe Fake News. Le Temps Noir being from Half Pints and Fake News being from Torque. But every stout is a 0 at that point. But every Kolsh is at least a 3, and if it's a decent Kolsh, it's a 4. You know, in the right situation, a Bud is a 2. It's not like I call it a beer. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna recommend this guy. Put the 252 seal of approval on the Lakeside. And with that, I'm going to call it quits. Look forward to more beer reviews. Look forward to more fundraising updates. And I do plan to be streaming a little bit more often. Hopefully Wednesday nights, but we'll see. And with that, I'm going to call it. I'm going to turn around here, and I'm going to hit the button. And then we're going to be done. Mob Crush AI creates clips from your stream.